Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my Week 3 battle for the second season of the UPA D-League. This week we are going up against Rice, coach of the Rice Noctowls, a replacement coach for Crypto, who unfortunately had to drop out of the league after losing the first two games of the season. So unfortunately, Rice is starting the season off on the back foot because of that, and we definitely want to continue the losing ways of the franchise as hopefully knock someone out of the potential playoff race later down the line and make ourselves look a lot better in the playoff race, hopefully. So going into the actual teams, if you want to know about my teams specifically, I did upload a team builder. There will be a link in the description below, but for just a quick overview, we have a physically defensive Skarmory, we have a bulky sub-Swords Dance Megaane, we have a physically defensive Speedy Celebi, a specially defensive Muck, a utility heavy Gracium Z Tornadus, and a Choice Scarf Hydreigon. Looking at what Rice brought to the table, he brought the Megalopony, the Mamoswine, the Thundurus, the Steelix, the Mismagius, and the Florges. And the first thing I notice about his team, and the first thing that I just have my head down on the table for, is that there's no goddamn Suicune, and there's a Steelix on the board. Fuck me. Like, the whole reason I even have Grass Knot on my Tornadus is specifically for the Suicune. I actually prepped pretty hard for the Suicune. I sped crept my Celebi for that Suicune, and I put Toxic on a bunch of mods. I was 100% anticipating this. I did not think he would bring the Steelix, just because, like, I don't know. I thought he would only bring because of Jolteon. Maybe he thought he had a Jolteon weakness, but either way, the other big thing that's really upsetting that the Steelix is here for is that I don't have Fire Blast on my Muck like I was originally going to have. I was originally going to have Fire Blast, but I opted for Shadow Sneak instead in the case where a Thundurus got like way too out of hand really late in the game. I could just priority that out if it was really low on health. But since he has a Steelix there instead of the Suicune, it has basically an absolutely free switch into my Muck every single time. Past that though, not too many surprises. The big three are there in the Megalopony, the Mamoswine, and the Thundurus. The Florges, I definitely expect that to be a Hydreigon check, as otherwise Hydreigon actually looks like Scarf Hydreigon looks to have a pretty decent offensive matchup against him. And then the Mismagius, which I'm not too surprised. Like it was the last slot. It could have been anything. I think Mismagius is pretty good, so I can understand it. So, anyways, looking at the lead matchup, I kind of do expect him to lead with his Steelix to set up rocks. So, because of that, really the only thing I have to close to OHKO it, or at least dent it, would be my Hydreigon's Fire Blast. So I'm gonna lead with my Hydreigon here. And as we see, Rice decides to instead lead with his Thundurus, and not really sure what this thing wants to do or why it led with it. My first thought was if he led with it, he might be the Prankster Thunderwave set. So I also didn't want to get, like, I obviously don't want to get paralyzed, but I also didn't want to give away that I was Scarf. So I'm just gonna straight away switch into my dedicated check into this, which is the specially defensive Muck. But as we see here, Rice goes for the U-turn, and my first thought was, is he actually Scarf Thundurus? Like, I didn't really see a reason to run U-turn on it besides for that. But anyways, he does once again get the pretty much free switch into Steelix. So looking at what it could do, like, Earthquake does way too much to my Muck, and I definitely need this healthy to try to check the Thundurus as best as I can. So I'm actually going to switch into Skarmory here, which seems like a pretty safe play on my part. But what I don't expect is for Rice to go for the Smackdown, and that's not that great, because even though I am physically defensive, Earthquake, after leftovers, it's a roll to 2-hit KO. However, however, I can't do anything back to it. And, like, I could just set up my own rocks here, but I don't really want to trade that I don't want to trade that for health on my Skarmory when it's important to check the Mamoswine. So I'm actually going to hard switch into my Hydreigon, expecting the Earthquake, but Rice does just predict that and sets up his rocks. And now like, Rice makes a very aggressive play here. So, like I said, I 100% thought he was going to switch into his Florges here, which was the main reason he would have like you'd have the Fortis here. I thought it was 100% going to be for my High Dragon. So I U-turned, but Rice actually stays in with his Steelix. So I believe I go into my Skarmory once again to try to do something, but he goes for the Smackdown again. Now what I should have done was just defog here and just get over my health, but I end up switching into my Celebi as kind of a mid-ground play to resist the Earthquake, and even Gyro Ball, since I'm not max, he doesn't do too much, but he switches into the Thundurus again. So seeing that he does have U-turn on this, it's not a 2-hit KO, or at least a guaranteed 2-hit KO, but at the same time, I would be revealing Rocky Helmet and still be getting a lot, like losing a lot of HP. I could have recovered here, but ultimately, I think I ended up... Oh yeah, I just ended up switching right back into my Muck, which was like my dedicated switch into this. Basically, like another play was I was kind of scouting for his Dark Pulse, but he does again go for the U-turn, slowly whittling down my my Muck, and he switches into his Mismagius here. I was quite surprised about that. I figured, like, okay, he's seen that I can't really do anything. Well, like, I know my Muck can't do anything to a Steelix, so I was very surprised he didn't just switch in Steelix here. But then it hit me that what I think Rice is going to try to do is he actually sees that Spadef Muck is actually kind of like a slight problem for him, so I'm actually expecting him to Trick here. So I took a bit of time to make sure that Trick can't go through Protect, and luckily it cannot. So predicting the Trick, I do decide just to go for the Protect here. But what we instead see is that he goes for the Will-O-Wisp instead. So now looking at what I kind of want to get burnt, like kind of like my many middle ground plays. I thought about going into High Dragon here, but there is the chance that he's carrying the Dazzling Gleam, even though I'm not too sure how aggressive Rice wants to be with his Dazzling Gleam should he carry it. So because of that, maybe I should have gotten High Dragon, or sorry, not High Dragon. I can't think. I honestly, I'm pretty sure I switched into either Skarmory or Tornadus here. One of those two things happened. I do go into Skarmory, right, because he does get aggressive, and he goes for the Dazzling Gleam. So he got pretty aggressive predicting my High Dragon, and I'm going to try to defog these rocks away, but Rice does show the taunt, so very good prep on his part, and this Mismagius is looking to be a problem of, like, just a problem on my own. So now, again, I don't really want this to get burned because I do want this to, like, have HP, like, enough HP to hopefully properly check his Mamoswine. But at the same time, I could have Brave Birded here because that was, like, it was a guaranteed 2-hit KO on an offensive Mismagius. As we see here, actually, the Dazzling Gleam, I'm pretty sure revealed that he wasn't max attack, so I guess at that point I should have predicted him to be a little more bulky, but either way, I believe here I go into my Tornadus as like the middle ground play of trying to get burned, which I do here, as we do see here his Will-O-Wisp just fire off, and here I just fire off a Hurricane, basically to scout damage and see if he wants to switch. Oh, no, right. I U-turn here because I thought the Hurricane was pretty obvious, and I thought he was going to switch into Steelix, so I was going to U-turn on that. And yeah, Rice, I guess this one wasn't really that aggressive, but still, Mismagius stays in, and it's just turning into be like a really big problem. And now I think, yeah, this is where I go into my Skarmory to hopefully try to Brave Bird this and see if he tries to go for the taunt again, as I go into my Skarmory here and he reveals the Hex. And here is where I make a gigantic misplay that honestly could have basically thrown the game away. So my thought here was like, okay, I want to Brave Bird this. He might think I'm defogging the rocks away. If I Brave Bird this, I either get his HP down low on his taunt, or if he switches into his Steelix, trying to switch into my Brave Bird, then I can defog the rocks away after. Not thinking that he would just go for a second Hex because he outspeeds. So yeah, past Brandon had a different idea of what Rice wanted to do, but yeah, future Brandon, or I guess current Brandon, like, wishes I could smack myself in the face for that, because that was a pretty fucking obvious play on Rice's part, and that was just me being an idiot. Yeah, so now this Mamoswine is a huge threat along with his Thundurus, and I'm gonna need to play around both of those really carefully, but also at the same time, I need to make some plays because I am severely on the back foot here. So even when I'm burned, his Hex isn't doing a ridiculous amount to my Tornadus because I do have a decent amount of bulk investment. So I'm going to fire off the Hurricane to mostly just to scout damage on this or see if he wants to switch. Unfortunately, no confusion, but that's whatever. His Hex does not kill me, which that definitely revealed that he is not he's not max attack. I'm going for the U-turn here because in the case where Hurricane is a roll to kill here, he could switch out. But either way, I need to get Regenerator on my Tornadus if I wanted to survive for this world. I thought about launching the Bloom Doom here because, I mean, without the Suicune, it's like pretty much never going to get fired off. But if he is max HP, even without special defense investment, just max HP Mismagius, the Bloom Doom could not kill from here. So I am just going to fire off a U-turn, get on out of here, get some Regenerator, and I believe I go into my Muck just to kind of like, I basically have to accept at this point that I need the Muck to get burned. Or at least, like, I need to get a Toxic on this Mismagius. That's a 100% thing. And I basically just have to get over the fact that my Muck's going to get burned. This Mismagius is proving to be a really huge problem for my team right now. So I fire off a Toxic. Kind of hoped he would miss the Will-O-Wisp, but unfortunately that didn't happen, as I do just fire off a Toxic. I can't miss that since I'm Poison type, which is a nice benefit. But now my Muck is going to have a much harder time checking his Thunderous since I'm being worn down. And now I go into my Gallade here because I know his full moveset has been revealed. He has Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, D-Gleam, and Hex. So I highly doubt he Will-O-Wisps again in front of an already burned Muck. And what was the other thing? Right, Hex and Dazzling Gleam can't kill this Gallade from here. I did make sure about that because on special attackers, actually, Gallade has the same HP and special defense stat as Mega Gallade. It's only the physical defense that changes for the bulk. So yeah, none of his moves can KO me here, and I kind of anticipated him not going for the Will-O-Wisp here as we let the poison go down. Here, I basically have to make a play. I have to. It's kind of a two-pronged sword here. I'm very much on the back foot here. So basically, I try to make a play that hopefully gets me back to the game. I try to go, like, the knockoff is pretty obvious here and can obviously kill the Mismagius. But what I try to do is basically sub up to predict, and hopefully he switches into something not named Florges. As we see here, Rice switches out into Florges. So my quote-unquote aggressive play didn't really work since I don't have Poison Jab. But I at least can knock off the leftovers here. Like, yeah, pretty much just me substituting there was just at the cost of 25% HP. Because otherwise I would have just knocked this off and still be at, like, what, 54% or whatever it would be, or 52. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying, but I mean, I needed to try to make some sort of play because otherwise this game is going nowhere. So anyways, with his Florges out, my Muck is still a very free switch in as it can't do anything. Like, Florges can't do anything to me as he does fire off a Wish. And I thought about this turn for a long time too. My first thought was that he would switch in his Mismagius, because as you can see, Mismagius is a huge problem for my team right now. So the Toxic didn't really seem like the right play, even though I really want to get a Toxic on this Florges. I do end up going for Toxic just in case, like, he's trying to get a free switch, basically a free switch into one of his offensive mons and Lopunny, Thundurus, and Mamoswine, as those are also pretty likely plays in my opinion, as he does switch into Mamoswine. So I do get a Toxic off on this. So the Wish was, like, not really for nothing, but the Wish doesn't take any effect. But the problem is here, Mamoswine basically claims a kill. So I protect just to get a little more Toxic damage onto his Mamoswine. But ultimately, like, something is dying here, and, like, with my Defogger gone and without rocks, Tornadus really isn't doing anything. So I basically just decide to sack it off, as he does reveal to be Life Orb. And then after the Toxic damage, he is guaranteed in range of my Celebi's Giga Drain, and I guarantee outspeed since I sped crept a max speed Suicune. So I just, so the only thing he can do here is Ice Shard, and I just fire off the Giga Drain and knock out this Mamoswine to not get 6 out at this point. So yeah, Celebi actually looking pretty decent right now as he goes into his Thunderous. Now I calc it. I know from all of the U-turns he fired off before, he is like he's not invested minus nature on attack. So the only time U-turn kills is with an absolute max roll, and since I'm so far behind, I basically I have to make some sort of aggressive play. So I do decide to stay in here, hope he doesn't get the max roll, and I just go for a recover here. As we do see, he does fire off the U-turn and he doesn't get the max roll, so he gets some chip damage on here, and I do just fire off the recover to get a lot of health back as he goes into his Lopunny, which I was a little surprised at because Celebi is my check to the Lopunny. So I'm completely fine with it as he fires off a Toxic and stays in base form, which I guess is alright. Which makes sense now, I guess, because he doesn't know that I don't have Psychic. Because Psychic actually does, even uninvested Psychic does quite a bit to a Mega Lopunny. I think it does 78 min. It's actually really nice damage. So I guess he was scouting for that. But I was actually going for the recover on his predicted return or any kind of physical attack. So what I'm gonna do here now is actually fire off a U-turn as after the Rocky Helmet damage. If he goes for a return, and then I go for my U-turn. Hydreigon actually has a decent chance to knock it out with Draco, even though I'm going to have to play around it since he does have that stupid Florges in the back. But still, I'm going to fire off the U-turn here, predicting him to attack basically what's in front of him or switch out, as he actually goes for the Baton Pass scene that I stayed in. So he goes into his Florges, and I U-turn out into my Muck, I believe, because that's pretty much all I can do. And I believe I try to Toxic this again with, just a Toxic. But Rice isn't having any of that. Sorry for the mouse there, I just keep touching it accidentally as he goes into his Steelix. And this Steelix is being a huge pain in the ass because I made the conscious decision not to fucking put Fire Blast on my Muck. But anyways, I once again go out to my Celebi as a kind of neutral ground play to the Steelix since it's being a real pain in the ass. And here, again, I have to make plays here. And at the same time, I'm kind of thinking I almost thought he would go for U-turn here again because right now all he's gone for is U-turn and he led with it. I'm kind of expecting him to be Scarf Thunderous, so because I expect him to go for U-turn again, or anything really, basically to scout what his attacks are, I just decide to fire off a recover to see basically for scouting purposes. He goes for Nasty Plot, so he's actually not Scarf. He was just U-turn for momentum purposes. So, seeing this, if he has the Dark Pulse here, his Dark Pulse can't kill, but Z Dark Pulse can. But then I look at what coverage it needs. It has U-turn, and it has Nasty Plot for sure. My prediction is that he has Thunderbolt Focus Blast, because if he needs Thunderbolt to take on Skarmory, that's for sure. He pretty much has no other coverage moves for that, barring he wants to risk Focus Blast. Not that Skarmory can do much back to it, but still, that's the point. And then past that, I do think he has the Focus Blast, because if he has just if he just has Thunderbolt Dark Pulse, he can't touch my Hydreigon. So I do highly anticipate him having Focus Blast. So seeing that, I'm just going to try to confirm my suspicions of those coverage moves, and once again try to scout and go for another recover here. But it turns out he just decides to Nasty Plot again, and yeah, I should have just Toxic there, but now I learned my lesson. I'm just Toxicing what's in front of me, as assuming he doesn't have Dark Pulse, he can't kill me with anything, but yeah, that's a lot of damage on my Celebi now. So now I have to sack something. My Muck is pretty much useless. It was supposed to be the check for this anyways, so I'm just going to sack that. I pretty much need my Celebi if I want to have, to roost up on something if I want to have a chance of still winning. My Celebi's kind of looking like that. So now I go into Hydreigon here, and I did not waste time clicking this Hydreigon button, so I thought, okay, he's got to know that I'm screaming Scarf here. And if that's the case, he should calculate the only thing that guarantee kills his Thundurus from here is Draco Meteor. And seeing that Thundurus, barring this Scarf Hydreigon, seeing that Thundurus outspeeds my entire team, I do anticipate him to switch into Florges here, because why risk it? But Rice makes an extremely aggressive play, and stays in on my U-turn instead of going to the Florges. And yeah, so he basically claims another kill, and I had to sack my Glade because it's pretty much not doing anything. So now I go into my High Dragon again, and now I click Fire Blast here because now it's guaranteed in range of Fire Blast. So yeah, I just have to kill that, and down goes the Thunderous. But yeah, it's too little too late. My Celebi unfortunately is too worn down, so his Lopunny can clean up the game. He does just decide to go for the safe returns on the off chance, I guess, that he either misses High Jump Kick or I switch into Celebi right away, which I suppose is fine. And I mean, I do land a lot of Fire Blasts in a row, but either way, his return will KO my Lopunny. His Lopunny's return will KO my High Dragon, and unfortunately my Celebi is too low to live a return, but will knock out the Lopunny with the Rocky Helmet afterwards, and that is going to be GG to Rice. And yeah, what went wrong in that game, Brandon? You might be asking. A lot of things, like a lot of things. From a prep standpoint, that no Suicune there, that was pretty big. He knew that Suicune actually seemed pretty good against me and opted not to bring it for that specific reason, thinking that I would prep pretty hard for it. Which I guess like people just don't like bringing Suicune against me, because that's the second time in a draft league that's happened. But either way, that play with my Skarmory against the Mismagius, that was just, oh, that was bad. That was just straight up a misplay. Like no two ways around it. I completely forgot about that option. Like I will take any and all criticism about that play, like without question. That was just that was just a fucking stupid play by me on the Skarmory. And other than that, I want to say a lot of that came down to Rice's aggressive plays on my U-turns. I don't know if he scouted like all of my videos and know that I like to pivot around a lot, but yeah, like his aggressive plays on my U-turns were like some of the biggest killers in this game, in my opinion. Anyways, at least it seemed like it, because past that I really don't know what else I could have done. Maybe like played around the Mismagius a little better, but yeah, that was not a great game by me. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while since like I've had a truly I don't want to say undominant, but like the game wasn't really that close, and it's been a while since like I haven't played well and it wasn't that close. Like my GPC semifinals game, it wasn't close, but I still think I played well. Same thing with like my PDL. I guess my PDL playoffs, it was kind of close and I played well. Like, it's been a long time since I think I truly haven't played well in a draft league game. So, yeah, this loss feels pretty bad. So, unfortunately, we are 2-1 with still a pretty decent differential of +5. But yeah, we definitely need to, like, pick up our high horses. Like, I think the team building on my part, while I thought would be good, it would have been good if the Suicune was there. But unfortunately it didn't show up, so I need to definitely, I think, improve my team building for our next week's match, which will be against Blitz and the Toronto Tyrannotars. So yeah, keep your eye out on the channel next week for when the team builder goes live for that battle. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.